Hello everybody, welcome back to Real Weather Forecast. In today's forecast, we'll discuss our summer-like pattern here in Florida we're having with pop-up showers and storms along our sea breeze boundaries here in Florida as it will push inland with the main focus of rain to be around Orlando, Kissimmee area. Now looking at radar right now, we can see our sea breeze is actually developed and is now pushing inland west of I-95 with a lot of the activity right here, just sporadic pop-up downpours. Now, the instability in upper levels in the atmosphere are not very supportive of sufficient thunderstorm activity, so any developed convection that does form is very temporary and very sporadic as one storm develops, dies out, outflow boundary pops up, another storm develops from that boundary. As you can see, there's a little line right here. If you look carefully, this line that pushes this way, that's pretty much the sea breeze with the outflow boundary pushing out toward the west. Now, there will be also a west coast sea breeze pushing in, but it's moving much slowly as our winds are very strong from the southeast, allowing our dominant sea breeze to be the east coast, as most likely the collision will be mostly just to the west of Orlando. Now, when this collision does happen, we could see some pretty strong storms with them, but be very limited strong storms, as we could have like a strong storm here and one here, and the rest will be all just regular showers and storms. Now, any storm that becomes very strong could produce some very heavy rain, some frequent lightning, and gusty winds, but be very temporary as there's not much supportive instability for the storms to get going and become severe. Now, looking at everywhere else in the U.S., we do have a slight chance for some severe storms down in the Texas area, as the main threat will be some very large hail and gusty winds. Now, the past few days, it's been very active over here in Texas. We see some very big tornadoes developing there. Good thing, most of the tornadoes that have developed has been out in rural areas, very unpopulated. But of course, there is some little farmhouses out there that got hit, and I hope they're okay. And it looks like the storm chasers that did go out to them and check on them has been doing okay, and they brought them to the hospital. So that's a good thing for them. And for today's threat is more of a gusty wind and hail threat, as the tornado threat is very minimal. But of course, how has it been? How this year has been? Maybe one or two little tornadoes can pop up if we get enough instability and outflow boundary interaction to occur. But the big main event will be tomorrow, as we have a moderate risk here in Tornado Alley, and pretty much the same area that has been hit by a lot of tornadoes this past, especially in April, up here by Oklahoma City, here in Kansas, and even a little bit Omaha is up here, but there's still no slight risk area. But the most strongest risk for tornadoes looks to be here by Oklahoma City north, a little bit of southern Kansas, as we have a really weird setup, as we have a trough up here that will have a little shortwave out pivot right around it, having a maximized wind threat going right through Oklahoma, and it looks like might unfortunately be a more of a nocturnal tornado kind of threat, as that's when the most of the wind shear will occur right after dark and here in the Oklahoma area. And then on to the next day, all the activity will shift toward the east, but be very more broad and minimal, as it'll be more low-topped severe storms. Now there will be more of sporadic thunderstorm threat, as could be some more of a large hail gusty winds, but of course there could be some isolated tornadoes in this slight risk area as our shortwave trough becomes more broad as the lower wind shear in this area. Now heading back to Florida, our weather pattern has been very consistent of a high pressure system just anchored offshore, keeping us mostly, that was terrible H, keeping us relatively dry with our pretty much south easterly winds, even easterly winds, really keeping us in that ridge axis up above with our very dry mid levels, keeping any rain that develops for us very minimal and sea breeze driven, as high pressure does not want to go away. And it looks like it'll continue to do so for the next couple of days until it might have a front that will eventually kick through, eroding that ridge away and giving us a little better chance for rain. but still not until looks like toward the end of the week into next weekend. And here is the fronts that will move through as we there's our severe weather that happened in Oklahoma, which is a dry line that will mostly get all the storms initiated. And putting over to Florida, tomorrow looks like another sea breeze driven day, and I see a chance you can see some little more activity, at least more scattered chances of rain, even better chance for rain along the coast, especially up by I-4 area. There's a little, you can see this little trough develop as we have sufficient moisture in the air, and lots of daytime heating will help destabilize the atmosphere a little more than yesterday or today. So we could see a little more sporadic rainfall tomorrow, but still severe weather threat is still very minimal as lots of dry air above, keeping a lid on things, you can say, like in those making those storms not too aggressive with their updrafts, and the wind shear also is very limited, as usually summertime we don't see very much wind shear, but it is May and it's almost summertime next month, but we're getting there, and so we'll continue to see tomorrow as a sea breeze driven day, but heading into Tuesday, our we pretty much lose our moisture, and the ridge pretty much anchored itself out here, as you'll see. It's getting a little finicky, but you can see it's out there, just to the north of the Bahamas, and our winds have become the same southeasterly, as we will still have sea breeze driven, but the rain chances will be much less as our moisture becomes less sufficient for any storms or showers to develop. And they'll continue to do so until through the week, toward the end of the week. And as we get into next weekend, there is actually a front that will scoot its way right through Florida, moving through Florida, but also dying out at the same time, and possibly even stalling out through the weekend down here in South Florida. So we could see pop-up showers and storms, maybe some stronger storms. As we continue through the week, I'll keep looking at the model and the data and get a better idea of what's going to happen. But any time this time of year when we get a front, most of the times they usually stall out over Florida, and that can definitely get us a chance for some isolated flooding as we have continuous days of rain. But we are in a drought, so much needed rain will be needed, especially here in Central Florida. We are actually in a drought here, and hopefully we get a little bit of rain. We're actually in a level 2 in East Central Florida, so any rain would be much welcomed. Here's the rain amounts for the next 7 days, and you can see a lot of the rain amounts here in Florida is more just from the pop-up showers and storms we're getting today and tomorrow. And of course, this runs through next weekend, so it'll be also showing any rain that develops from that front. You can see most of the rain totals are on the west coast of Florida, as our winds are still from the southeast, allowing that east coast sea breeze to develop and push toward the west coast, allowing any rain or stronger rain to be more confined on the west side of the state. Now, if you notice, there's actually a decent amount of rain right offshore, indicating that front for next weekend. And also this morning, we did have some pretty robust storms offshore, but they didn't make their ways toward the coast as the winds offshore were a little more toward the south, letting those storms push more south or more north. Heading over here in the GFS model on Tropical Tidbits, great website. You can see same weather pattern, nothing really changes. We still have our nice, maybe more southerly winds, but the main story that we're going to be seeing this week is our temperatures, and they're going to really ramp up as we can see almost near 100 degrees toward the middle of the late week. Is a Thursday, even Friday. Very warm. So if you are going to be outdoors, remember to stay hydrated, limit your sun exposure, wear sunscreen. It's going to be very warm. And even though we have a front that'll move through this weekend, our temperatures don't really knock down much as it's the time of year where we won't really see any more cooler temperatures unless we get widespread rain or cloud cover. You can see in the panhandle there is actually some little chilly temperatures up there, but that's only due to the fact we have pretty potent low pressure and heavy rains, which the GFS has been showing, which still very inconsistent with other models, but it is a GFS. It likes to just throw out things, but has been hinting at this pretty potent storm and very strong front as it stalls out in South Florida. But of course, that is over a week away, and things will definitely change. And I'll keep looking at this, see if anything changes, which it most likely will. But you can see here is next weekend, you can see some moisture around Florida, which is the front that'll be moving through and essentially dying out. Not really knocking our temperatures down at all, but it looks like we could see enough moisture in the area. And we'll look at a sounding for Friday afternoon, about 8 o'clock. So here is, I'll do a little sounding north of I-4 around Lake County, and we'll see quite saturated profile. As you can see, the red is the temperature, green's dew point. So closer they are, the more saturated they are. So there's a little bit of drying in the middle of the mid levels, but overall, very saturated profile with over 1,000 cape. So definitely consistent for some, potentially for some little stronger, or at least some storms to develop. And the hodograph up here, very straight, so very unidirectional wind. So not really seeing any severe weather threat really, as more of a gusty wind kind of day. If any storm that does develop, so that's still quite a bit days out, and I'll keep looking, see any consistent feedback from the models, as that is the best way to look for weather in the models. We can look at the icon model, which is another pretty decent model. You can see this one's less moisture, very moisture starved actually. And this also does show a little bit of the lowering the pressures as we head into the week of the 13th. So overall, the big picture for this week will be sea breeze driven storms today and tomorrow, drying out for the week with temperatures very increasing into the mid 90s, even some upper 90s inland, and even toward on the west coast. As even though we're having a sea breeze, it won't cool us off much here on the East Coast, as we'll still see 90s across the whole state. So overall, hot temperatures, drying conditions, maybe some front moving through next weekend, maybe moistening up a little bit, but not seeing very much consistency in the models as of now. Other than that, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll keep you updated in the next video. Thank you.